Hello students, we'll be doing the chapter continuity and differentiability. Now this chapter is very important for the KCT weightage. Somewhere around 5 to 6 marks you can expect from this chapter. And what are the topics we'll be studying in this? First, what is continuity and what are the different continuous functions? Differentiation, what do you mean by that? And two more important topics, LMVT, Lagrange's mean value theorem and Rolle's theorem. So to sum up, around 5 to 6 marks, very important and not very complicated. Very simple chapter, very scoring. Just you have to be a bit careful. You need to understand stuff. Once you understand, the way of solving is also pretty simple. So you can do each and every question. Now what we have done in this video, we have brought up the concepts. First, I'll be explaining you all the concepts. Once I'm done with the explanation of the concepts, I'll go with the previous year's questions, almost somewhere around from 2014 or no, to 2020, 2014 to 2020, we have taken all the questions and we have solved it. Okay, so we went through all the questions 2014 to 2020, and if you're able to go through with all the concepts and the formula, revise it, make short notes on it and solve the PYQs along with us, you won't be able to miss a single question. That's a guarantee. But the most important thing, most of the students, they're not doing it in a dedicated manner. So you have to be dedicated students, okay? You have to give your 100% concentration, okay? You can watch the video in 1.5x or 2 because I'll be going a bit slow so that who is doing it for the first time also, they'll be able to do each and everything and solve each and every question and get 5 to 6 marks from the KCT exam, okay? So very important. So let's start the chapter. So the first thing, the prerequisites, what we need to know before starting the chapter. The first and the foremost, limits. And most of the limits question you can solve it by using, we discussed a rule called L'Hopital, correct? Now a lot of students who have watched the limits and they remember, that's well and good. And if you have watched but you don't remember right now or you're not able to recall, so that is not a good sign, correct? Because exams are very near, 20-25 days max we have, and right now you're not able to recall, that's a very bad thing. So you have to write your notes and practice. L'Hopital, we told you, whenever the limit is tending to 0 by 0 or infinity by infinity, what we do? We differentiate the numerator and we differentiate the denominator separately, okay? And we keep differentiating till we get a non-determinant form, okay? Next is indeterminate form. Total 7 indeterminate forms we read. You can watch our previous lecture on limits and you can understand what are the different indeterminate forms we need to. For the KCT students, only 2 indeterminate form we get more often, 0 by 0 and infinity by infinity. Very rare cases, 1 power infinity we get, otherwise none, okay? Now, that is not in the indeterminate form, but these are the 3 forms mostly we get questions on, okay? So next, the last part, definition of limits. This will be using this concept a lot here, okay? What do you mean by limits? So if you remember from the previous video, very good. I'll just recap it. Limits means left hand limit has to be equal to the right hand limit and that has to be equal to a finite value, okay? And that has to be equal to a finite value, that's it. Nothing more than that, okay? Now, next is all trigonometric formulas which I have given students, that should be on your fingertips, because if you know trigo, you'll be able to solve questions in like seconds, okay? 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, that's it. The moment you see the question, oh sir, we can substitute this formula and we can solve it. If you don't, then you'll be just scratching your head and thinking, oh, the question is pretty tough, sir. We are not able to, point out the head and tail of it, okay? But the moment you remember the formula, you're able to recall it, which formula to put it up, the case is done, okay? Coming to the ITF, we have already uploaded the ITF video. Go watch it. There you need the understanding a bit of the ITF, what is basically an inverse function, range and domain, students, very, very important. One question directly comes from range and domain almost, okay, for your PU also and for the KCT also, like somewhere here and there, a lot of questions can be solved just by knowing the range and domain. And then the properties, okay? Though the properties part is like not there, but still we are taking everything because we promised we'll give you the content so that you can score 50 plus, not less than that, okay? So you can score 50 plus, not less than that. So we are giving you everything. So work hard, nothing is there. It'll just take what, 5 minutes max to understand the what is a reduced concepts also. So there's no what you say hurry in that. There is no loss in that, and just giving you 5 marks and making sure that whatever happens, you are well versed, okay, with anything. Okay, so even if they give questions from the reduced syllabus part also, you'll be able to solve it very easily. Okay, now, okay, by the way, students, I think so I said something here. The three indeterminants form mostly will be seeing like 0 by 0, infinity by infinity, and 1 power infinity also. I don't like one of the very rare forms, but very rare. These two are the more often forms and where we use L'Hopital. Okay, so this is the pretty basic picture that you need to know before starting this chapter, so that the chapter becomes like a cakewalk for you. Okay, nothing else comes up from what is apart from this and the continuity differentiability concept, which we'll be teaching right now. What you have to do is limits, trigger formulas, and ITF. What we have told, you need to know that, so that the whole chapter becomes a very easy thing for you. Okay, now let's start with the limits, continuity, and differentiability. Now, in order to understand limits, continuity, and differentiability, see students, our understanding becomes crystal clear when we use it in a graphical way. When you go to a place, when you see something, you don't forget that easily, correct? So the moment you analyze something, the moment you understand something with the help of a graph, you don't tend to forget so easily. So let's see and understand what does graphically we mean by limit, we mean by continuity, and we mean by differentiability. Okay, so first, limits. So limits is basically nothing but the approaching. Sometimes what happens, in a function we're not able to find the exact value, okay, at a particular point. So what we do, we try to find approaching value. So approaching value is nothing but the concept of limit. So let's say at 2, the function value is not defined, but we wanted to know where is the function approaching to or tending to. So we brought left hand limit, okay, and the right hand limit. So what do you mean by right hand limit? We approach the function from the right hand side. So when we approach the function from the right hand side, we already discussed in the previous lectures. So it means that we are putting just a bit bigger values than 2. See, at 2 we know it is not defined, but a bit or a slight just bigger values than 2, if we put, we see that the function is approaching to 4. So our right hand value, okay, at x tends to 2 plus is approaching to 4, and if you see the left hand also is approaching to 4. So whenever the right hand approach and the left hand approach is equal, and that is equal to a finite value, okay, then we say limit exists. That's it. So whenever we say the left hand side value LHL is equal to the right hand side value, and that value is finite, students. We have discussed this concept in the limit section, that if left hand value is equal to if the left hand value is infinity and the right hand value is also infinity, so can we say the limits are equal? No, because both the infinity are different. Infinity is not like a single term or single value. You can say this infinity is equal to that. No. Okay. So we don't know what infinity is. So that's why left hand value and the right hand value has to be equal, and that has to be equal to a finite value. Okay. Then only we say limit exists. So graphically, we mean that the left hand side, if I approach the function from the left hand side, or if I approach the function from the right hand side, it should approach in the y value to a same finite value, and that is known as the limit exists. So this concept will be using a lot, students, to cover up a lot of questions, because if limit exists, then only we will go talk about continuity. If limit doesn't exist, we don't talk about continuity. Correct. So we'll see about that. What is continuity? What is continuous function? Okay, but this concept is very important. Okay, so very important from KCT point of view. Okay, mark it down and do make your short notes in such a way so that helps you at the time of revision. Each chapter can be revised, can be written in like 1 or 2 sheets, so that you can revise it multiple times and it becomes imprinted in your brain, and at the time of exam, at the exam center, you don't tend to forget stuff, and you can solve it like very easily. Okay, let's see the next part. Now coming to in terms with continuity. Continuity basically, by graphically, what do you mean by continuity is if you are able to draw a graph without lifting a pen. Let's say I'm drawing this graph. Okay, so did I draw the graph without lifting the pen? Yes, sir, no problem in that. Now let's say if I'm drawing like this, yes, definitely. But if I'm drawing a graph like this and then this, so at this point, did I lift the pen? Yes, definitely. So whenever we are able to draw a graph without lifting the pen, then that function is known as a continuous function. Okay, so when there is, now the word continuity itself says what? I'm continuous. Okay, I have no break. So the moment we know that the graph has no break, so means we can draw the graph without lifting our pen. Okay, so there is no break in the graph. So whenever somebody says, okay, the function is continuous, the man is continuous, or something is continuous, it means it has no break. It keeps going on. Okay, so pretty simple, nothing more than that. So let's see in this term. So limits we already knew. The left hand approach was 4. The right hand approach was 4. But if at this point f of 2, if I fill up this value with 4, so what will happen? The graph will become continuous. So first the limit has to exist. Once the limit exists, if I'm making it equal, the left hand limit is equal to the right hand limit, and that value, if I make it equal to the function value at that point, then what it becomes? Continuous. That's it, nothing more than that. So continuous graphically means what? That it should have no break. It should have what? No break. And the left hand limit has to be equal to the right hand limit, and that has to be equal to the function value. That's it. Now this, a lot, like 70 to 80% of the question will be just solved by this method. That's it, nothing more than that. Okay, so you need to understand continuity means what, sir? So left, first limit has to exist. So if limit has to exist, these two has to be same, correct? So what these two has to be same? Left hand limit has to be equal to the right hand limit value. Okay, and now if these two are equal and they're equal to the function value at that point, then we can say easily that the function is continuous. Nothing more than that we need. Now a lot of times you'll see, instead of writing the left hand limit equal to the right hand limit, we directly write limit x tends to 2, fx means the limit at 2 exists. Okay, and that should be equal to the function value. So if that is written, very simply we can easily write that the function is continuous. Nothing more we need. Okay, so now we got a very clear picture of what limit is and what continuity is, correct? So we got limit means that the approach, left hand approach and right hand approach has to be equal. Second thing in continuity means no break. That's it, correct? Done. Now let's see the other part. What about discontinuity? Now you talked about, sir, what is continuous. Now where do we see discontinuity? Where it is not continuous? So first, very simple, if limit doesn't exist, what happens? No continuity. No limit, no continuity. Very simple. Okay. Second, if a limit exists, sir, okay, then can we say is it continuous? No. If limit exists, then what do we have to see? The function value, if it is not defined at that point, again not continuous, because your left hand limit is equal to right hand limit, but your f of this point value is not defined. So again gone. We need all three to be equal. Okay. Now second thing, it is defined now. Now in second point, what will happen? The left hand limit is equal to right hand limit, but it is not equal to the function value. Function is defined, but not equal. So then also in that case, it is also discontinuous. Now we'll see and understand with the help of a graph. We gave you two conditions. First, where limit doesn't exist. Second, limit exists, but here function not defined. Here function defined, but not equal. Okay. So let's see with a graph the understanding. See the case one. Case one is pretty simple. What happens? If you see, if I approach this function from this side, I'll approach here. And if I approach from this side, I'll approach here. So you'll say, sir, limit only doesn't exist. So what you can write? Limit does not exist. Correct. So the moment you say limit does not exist, no continuity. There is no question about continuity. Correct. Now coming to the next part. You'll say, sir, left hand value and the right hand approach both are same, and that is one single value. So limit exists. Okay, we accept it. Limit exists. But what about the function value at b? Sir, f of b is not defined. Correct. So the moment we say f of b is not defined, what will happen? No continuity. Okay. Third point. Limiting value, again left hand approach is equal to the right hand approach, but that is not equal to the function value at that point. Okay. My LHL is equal to the RHL, student. Understand, very important, student. LHL is equal to RHL, but that is not equal to the function value at that point. So again, no continuity. What is it? Again, no continuity. Okay. Now, if you understand this, so we gave three conditions. Again, recapping it. Let's watch it again. First, if limit doesn't exist, close your eyes and say no continuity. If limit exists, then check for two things. What are these two things? The first thing, function value not defined. Okay, sir, LHL equal to RHL. The moment this LHL equal to RHL means limit exists, but this is not equal to what? The function value here is not defined. The function value here is what? Not defined. So done. Again, no continuity. Again, LHL is equal to RHL, so limit exists, but that is not equal to the function value is defined, but that is not equal to the limiting value. Okay, so the function at that point is not equal to the limits, so directly we can say again no, not continuous, or discontinuity is there. Okay, clear? So 2 points I gave you straight. One in which limit doesn't exist, and the second, if limit exists, we have to check for two things. First thing, the function has to be defined at that point, and then after being defined, it has to be equal also. Okay, so to sum up everything, what you have to understand is LHL equal to RHL, and that should be equal to the function value at that point. Clear, student? If you can just remember this, everything is done. Okay, for the continuity part, questions related to continuity, you can solve it pretty easily. Okay, now now there was a term called open interval continuity and closed interval continuity. In KCET you see it very less or very rare, so if you want you can skip this part, but since for the information I wanted to give you, open interval continuity means it is continuous between this range, okay, A to B, but not at the what end points A to B. That's it. Closed one means it is continuous in between A to B and at the end points also. Now, how do you check, sir, the end points, sir? How it like very difficult, no, to check for the end points? No, it's easy. See, let's say A here, B here. Now, when I'm talking about this point A, so basically I'm talking about two things: the function definition at A, and since this part is not there, only this part is there, so we will talk about the right hand limit at A. Okay, right hand limit at A, that's it. So if these two values are equal, I'll say it is right continuity here, and in this case it is left continuity in the B section. Okay, you can just zoom in and check it here. So what we'll talk about here is the left approach to B, okay, the LHL at B and the f of B value. Okay, if these two are same, we'll say okay, it is continuous, left continuous. And for X, we'll check about the right hand continuity and f of A. That's it. Okay. So again, on simple terms, like if it is getting too complicated, simple terms means open interval means what, sir? Between A to B continuous, but at the endpoints not. Here A to B continuous and at the endpoints also it is continuous. On simple terms, you can say like that. Okay, for just for the understanding sake. Coming to the next part, let's see. Now algebra of continuous functions. The moment we know two functions are continuous, we got curious. What we can do with that? Can we add, subtract? What can we do? And even if we are adding or subtracting, whether we are generating a continuous value or a continuous function. So let's see. So we have a function fx which is continuous. We have a function gx which is also continuous. If we add them or subtract them, we make a function which is continuous. So let's say an example. We have a sin x and we have another function cos x. Both are continuous in the domain. When you add it, sin x plus cos x, now this function is also continuous. See, what is the beauty of math? So simple. Okay, nothing more than that. Now here we have a function, let's say, let's take a polynomial function, x square, and let's take a, what do you say, trigonometric function, tan x, or like let's say sin x, take it, simple. Now this function is continuous, this function is continuous. When we multiply, then also it is continuous. That's it. Now again, in case of fx by gx, we just have to check, always see, this is like a very simple thing. The denominator should not be 0. So the values for which denominator is 0, you just remove it, rest is chill. Now the last one is very, very important, student. Okay, last one is very important from KCET point of view. We see sometimes a lot of questions on this composite of two functions. Okay, let's say I have a function fx is equal to, example I've given here. Okay, I'm just solving it again. Fx is equal to sin x and g of x is equal to mod x. Okay, now if I'm doing fog g of x, so basically what I'm doing, in f function I'm putting gx, correct? So let's say in f function I'm putting, what is my gx, mod x. So just understand, very simple. If I was putting x, I was getting sin x. If I'll put mod x, what I'll get, sin of mod x. So this also is continuous, student. Okay, simple. No need to have any kind of tension, any kind of, what you say, difficulty. So like sin mod x, very difficult. How will you solve? We have a lot of questions in PU, correct? In the NCERT also. Simple. Now what about gfx? Same thing we can do, and both are continuous. Okay. Now, few points to remember, very important. First, polynomial functions are continuous at all points. Trigonometric function continuous in their domain. So the domain part is very important. E power x exponential function continuous, no break in the graph. Log x again continuous but in the domain. All ITF functions, they're continuous but in the domain part. Modulus function is continuous, student. Okay, so modulus function also you don't see any break. So the moment you understand and you remember like this, that whenever we have a function and there is no break in it, clear, the function is not broken anywhere, so directly what we can say, it is continuous. Clear? Huh? Now I think so everybody will have a better understanding of limits and continuity. Let's merge with differentiability. Now coming to differentiability, a lot of people, they have a question, so what do we mean by the term differentiability? Okay, differentiability is nothing but a simple way to say that a function has a defined derivative at a point. Now what do you mean by that, sir? Okay, a defined derivative at a point. Let's see. Now what do you mean by derivative? Now this word derivative is pretty simple. We have learned, we have understood this in physics in first PU also, in 11th also. So understand, derivative is nothing but slope of the tangent at a point. Okay. Now what is slope of tangent? We'll see graphically, and this is the mathematical way to express derivative. Okay. We'll come and see. Let's see the first graph. So let's say we had a point P here in a curve. Now I told you find the derivative at point P. So basically that is dP by dx, let's say. Now derivative at this point is nothing but at point P you draw a tangent and then find the tan theta of this. This will be giving theta. So find the tan theta of that. So derivative at P is nothing but slope of the tangent which you have drawn at from point P. That's it. And we know for each point on the curve we have only one tangent we can pass, correct? So for this tangent line, what is the slope? If you're able to write that, that is only the derivative. Clear? So nothing is there, student. Okay. So derivative at point P is nothing but slope of the tangent what you have drawn at P. Okay. So what is it? Derivative at P is the slope of this tangent line which you have drawn. Now already we know, and we'll study in the straight line, what is the slope of a line? That is tan theta. Okay, theta is the angle that it is making with the x-axis, positive direction of x-axis. That's it. Okay, so that is the derivative. So derivative at P exists if and only if the function is continuous. Now very important, if limit exists, then only we will talk about continuity. If continuous is this, okay, there is no break, then only we'll talk about derivative. Okay, if there is a break in the graph, then we don't talk about derivative. So one has to be there, then only we can talk about other. If limit is there, we can check whether it is continuous or not. If it is continuous, then we can go ahead and check for whether it is differentiable or not. Otherwise, there's no need in that. Okay. Now, so we understood the concept of differentiability. What was the concept of differentiability? Basically, simple way to say that whether the function has a defined derivative or not. Where is the derivative not defined? The next question that we ask ourselves. So you're talking about derivative. So this is the way you told us, okay, this is the derivative point, the slope and all. So where we don't get a slope, where is the point we say the derivative doesn't exist or it is not differentiable? Can you make us understand that? Very simple, because the questions that they will ask will be mostly based on the part where we have to find it is non-differentiable. Okay, so let's see where a function is not differentiable. So a function is not differentiable, and pretty simple it is. The moment you listen it one time, you'll be able to understand it and it will be crystal clear. A function is not differentiable when the first condition, it has a vertical tangent. Means tan theta is equal to what? Here the theta value is what? 90 degree, and we know tan 90 is what? Not defined, correct? So now students will say, sir, yeah, pretty simple, sir. The moment we know, because derivative means tan theta, okay, the slope means tan theta at that point. So, and if theta is equal to 90 degree, we remember a bit of trigger, sir. Tan 90 is why it is not defined, because it is, sir, sin 90 by cos 90, and we know cos 90 is what? Sin 90 is 1 and cos 90 is 0. 1 by 0 is not defined, correct? Done. So first point is this vertical tangent. The moment you see at this point vertical tangent, directly you can shout and say, so not differentiable. Clear? Good. Next, not continuous. There is a break in the graph. Directly see, sir. Break is there, not continuous. We don't talk about differentiability. Done case. Okay. Third point, sharp turn. Now, a lot of places you'll see, sir, sharp turn is there. Why it is not differentiable? Because at this point, we can have multiple tangents, sir. So that's why, again, a fixed slope is not defined. So again, whenever you see a graph, and a lot of books they define as differentiability means whenever a function has sharp turns like mod x, very important, mod x graph. Okay, if you see it has a sharp turn at the point where it is getting 0 here. So at x equal to 0 it has a sharp turn. Okay, so not differentiable at this. For all other points, yes, definitely differentiable, but at this point of 0 it was not differentiable. Clear? So three things we need to understand. One, vertical tangent. Second, when it is not continuous, we don't talk about differentiability. And third, when it is having a sharp turn, not smooth, then directly we can say it is not differentiable. So now you got a very clear picture about limit, relating it to the continuity, and then relating it to differentiability. Okay. So let's see with a graph to have a more better clear understanding. No joint means not continuous, directly say not differentiable. So sharp turn, sir, suddenly it turned, okay, suddenly it turned, okay. So again, not differentiable. Vertical tangent, sir, not differentiable. Three conditions, three cases I gave you where the function is said to be non-differentiable, okay. Now, so let's see three people talking about limits, continuity and differentiability, and we summarized all of the stuff, okay, in what, 2-3 lines. That's it. So let's say the first one said limit exists when left hand limit equal to right hand limit, and that is equal to finite value. Okay. The second one said if that finite value is equal to the function value at that point, continuous. And if it is continuous and the slope is defined, no sharp turns, nothing differentiable. That's it. So they completed each other. If one happens, okay, limits, then we can go and check about continuity. Whether if the function value is same, if there is no break in that, then it will be continuous. And if there is no break in that and it has no sharp turns, no vertical tangents, directly we can say it is differentiable also. Okay. So very clear picture. First, the approach has to be same. Second, that value there should be no break, and third, there should be no sharp turn. That's it. And then we can say it is differentiable. Now these are the basic differentiation formulas. I won't go through this. I know you already know all of this, but I gave it in a concise manner in one part, so that you don't have to go through and with that excuse you'll just open YouTube and then you'll start for like best formula sheets, okay, or formula sheets on differentiation, and then you'll start YouTubing something else. Okay, you'll be distracted by the other videos and all that, or like something of comedy or something. So don't be distracted. We have pretty less time, 25 days max. Okay, so I've given up everything, whatever you need in this chapter in one form. Okay, you can just stop it, take a screenshot and write down all the formulas, make a formula notes, and very, very important, make your short notes in such a way and remember it so that it should be on your fingertips. Each question can be solved in less than 10 seconds, 30 seconds max a minute. That's it, nothing more than that. Okay, and that too very rare, 1 or 2 questions will be there that will be taking somewhere around 1 minute. Nothing more than that will take like more than 30 seconds. Okay, now in this, what are the important highlight points, okay, that you need to know? Mod x not differentiable at x equal to 0. Okay, mod x again not differentiable at x equal to 0, very important. Okay, and then about this, whenever you will get a greatest integer function, GIF, greatest integer function, at integer points the function is breaking, so it is not continuous only. If you remember, the graph is like this, something step function, correct? So at integral point there is a break. So at each of the integral points, okay, integral point, it is not continuous only. So the moment it is not continuous, differentiability is what also? Not differentiable. Done? Clear? Now, done. So doesn't exist? Clear? Now, coming to very simple rules. Now these rules you have already applied from class 11th. Still, I just wanted to go through so that you have everything at one place. Let's say we have two functions and two different functions we have. One is x and one is e power x. Now one is the polynomial function, the other is the exponential function. So we use the product rule. Product rule says what? First differentiate one of the function, leave the other function as it is. Don't disturb it. Then differentiate the second one, leave the other one as it is. So first I differentiated x, I got 1 and I left e power x as it is. Then what I did? I differentiated e power x. Now I know the differentiation of e power x is what? E power x only, and then multiplied with the other. Now I took e power x common, that is like to make it simplified, x plus 1, I got the answer. Pretty simple. Now u by v rule is very important in a lot of questions to do option checking. How? It'll say, sir, u by v rule we'll use for option checking. Yes, definitely. Now what is the use for that? Because in u by v, always the denominator square will come. Okay, so this is very important. In a lot of options you can just remove 2 or 3 options just by seeing the denominator. If you're able to form a function in the form of u by v and you're seeing that in the options is v square is not given, directly you can cross that option. Correct. So this u by v rule is very important. U is your numerator function, v is your denominator function. So denominator into derivative of the numerator minus, always remember, a lot of students they do mistake and put a plus because our here plus is there. Don't do that mistake. Into numerator into d by dx, or the derivative of the denominator, okay, divided by denominator square. That's it. Clear? Done. I've taken a function also. You can do with this also. You can just go ahead, solve it, and then just check the answer. Pause the video, solve it, just check the answer. That's it. Now, very important topic, chain rule. Now, so whenever we talk about composite function means one function merged into another. Okay, like I've taken a very big function. Don't get scared. You don't get these kinds of function. E power sine log tan x square. Okay, so whenever you get this kind of function, what do? First solve for the first one which is coming. So solve for e. Forget about this, it exists. Just imagine that it's something. Okay, so what is the differentiation or derivative of e power x? E power x only. So just e power this whole thing I wrote it. Okay, whatever it is, without changing, without having any single thought. Okay, next e is done, cross it. Okay, now which function? Sine. So what is the derivative of sine? D by dx of sine x is what? Cos x. So again for this sine cos will come, and this part, the parameter or the sine x part, this x as it is will be copied here. So what was my x? Log of tan of x square. That's it. Now sine is also gone. Now what about log? So what is the derivative of log x? It is 1 by x. So if it is capital X or log of dabba also, it is 1 by dabba. Correct? So we'll take that 1 by log, what is the value here? Tan x square. So 1 by tan of x square. Correct? Or the argument of the log. Okay, I was forgetting that term. Now tan, what is the argument here? X square. So tan derivative is what? Secant square x. Secant square. And then whatever is inside, just keep it as it is. So secant square and then x square. Now differentiate the inside one into d by dx of x square is what? 2x, and that's it. So basically what we're doing is, when we are differentiating e, we are forgetting about this and just copying it as it is. So e power x is e power x. Then e is done, we differentiate sine. So whatever the argument or whatever this value is, we keep it as it is. Sine just becomes cos and this whole value gets copied. Then we go inside log, we got 1 by x square. Tan secant x square and x square is 2x. That's it. So that is chain rule. Now you'll say, sir, this kind of question doesn't come for the KCT. Take a simple example and show us. Okay, let's see a simple example. So e power, instead of all that, we just take like sine x. So dy by dx is what, student? If it was just e power x, okay, just imagine that this is capital X. So it will be what? E power x into d by dx of this, because we already differentiated e. Now this x, so d by dx of this capital X. So that will be e power, whatever this capital X is, into d by dx of this sin x is what? Cos x. Okay. So what you'll get? E power sin x into d by dx of sin x is what? Cos x. That's it. Clear? Done. Now parametric function, mark it student, very, very, very important. Okay, for your KCT point of view, a lot of questions you'll see in the parametric form. Okay, so in that, when we'll be solving the question, don't ask her how dy by dx is equal to dy by dt and dx by dt. Okay, so now only I'm explaining. See, x is a function of t, y is also a function of t. Now we need dy by dx. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll differentiate y in terms of t, we'll differentiate x in terms of t, divide it. That's it. So let's say we have a function x is equal to sin t, y is equal to cos t. So dx by dt will be what? Simple. If you differentiate sin, what you'll get? Cos t. And since you are differentiating with respect to t, so dt by dt is what? 1. Clear? Now dy by dt will be what? Minus sin t into dt by dt. That's again 1. Correct. So dy by dx. So in a lot of that questions directly I'll be writing, instead of writing dy by dt and all that, and divided by dx by dt. So that is equal to minus sin t by cos t, and that is equal to what? Minus of tan t. That's it. So very simple. Okay. Now coming to the implicit functions. Now implicit and explicit, we had two terms in the NCERT book. So what is this all about? Whenever you're not able to separate x and y, okay, bring x and y all together like in different sides, you're not able to do that. So then that function is like what? Where or x and y occurs together, we say these are implicit function. In that case, what you do? You differentiate both LHS and RHS and take common and solve it. That's it. What do you do? Differentiate both LHS and RHS. I have taken an example. You'll have a clear understanding. See, x square plus xy plus y square equal to 100. So can I write y and whole in terms of x? No. So what I'll do? I'll differentiate the whole thing. So if I differentiate x square, what I'll get? 2x. If I differentiate xy, again UV rule. So x into dy by dx, because two different functions. A lot of people, they do wrong here, don't do, because x and y both are different functions. So plus y into dx by dx, so that is 1, plus y square is what? 2y. Since I'm differentiating with x, so I'll get what? Dy by dx also is equal to 0. Now solve it, take common. So dy by dx into x plus 2y, and that will be equal to what? Minus y minus 2x. I've just sent it, that's it. So I'll get an answer. Okay, that's it. Now sometimes we see a big powers are there, and in that case scenario, log makes the question easier. We can solve with the power formula and all that, but log makes it more simpler. So you need to see the question, and if you're able to see that by taking log, you're able to simplify it in more smaller steps, then you take it and the question will become very simpler. So the moment, okay, now for the log part, we'll try to bring a separate video if we have time. We'll try our best. Okay, so you guys work hard, that we need from you. Now, so what we have done is, let's say I have a question, y is equal to x power something big I can take, let's say tan x. So what I'll do, I'll take log. So the moment I'll take log y is equal to log of x power tan x. So we know that whenever we have few properties you need to know. Whenever we have log of a power b, okay, so what will happen? This power comes in front. So b log a. Okay, so we had log y is equal to tan x into log x. Now you can easily differentiate. If you differentiate log y, what you'll get? 1 by y, and differentiation of y is what? Dy by dx, and that is equal to, here UV formula you use. First differentiate tan x, so secant square x into log x. Now this time differentiate the log x, so 1 by x into tan x, that's it. So you got the answer. Clear? Now same thing I have done with fx by gx, you can do that also. And while doing questions, we'll take this example, so don't worry about that. Okay. Now few properties which I'm writing of the log. First property, log of a power b. Okay, so what do you do? B into log a base e. So this one you write it down. Okay, so few properties which you need, which you will be needing it like eventually while solving the question. I'll give you with the question only, so write it down, that will be more than sufficient. Okay, now next, infinite series. In infinite series, I have given the formula, but in the while solving the question, I'll show you much smaller methods without doing the shortcuts and all that. A lot of videos you'll find in the YouTube, they'll be like shortcuts for this and that and all, and a lot of views will be there, but it's pretty simple. See, this part was repeating. I took the whole part as what? Y. That's it. Now what I'll do, in most of the questions, I'll just square it and solve it. Nothing more than that. Okay, and differentiate. It comes up pretty easily. So you can use the, what is a formula which I have given, and in this case when it is like power, you can use in that case also, but we'll be solving it much easier way If you want, if you have a good memory, you can mug it up. But if somebody is like me who doesn't have that good memory, okay, so you solve it on that point only, okay, that moment only, you just take it, differentiate it, and you'll get it. Don't worry. Now, few standard substitutions which are very important whenever you see something like a square minus x square. So what are you gonna do? Put x is equal to sine theta or cos theta. Now you'll say, sir, why a sine theta or cos theta? Because the moment I took a square common, what will happen? 1 minus sine square theta, and 1 minus sine square theta is what? Cos square theta. So I'll be able to come out of the root. That's it. Whenever I have x square plus a square, so I'll already know that a square tan square theta, if I put it up, what will happen? Because the moment I take common 1 plus tan square theta, I already know the formula is what? Secant square theta. So it becomes very easy. Or I can take 1 plus cot square theta. So I'll get cosecant square theta. So like that, I've given you all the substitutions, whichever you'll need. And these are way more than enough for the KCT and for somebody who's targeting JEE, NEET, JEE or anything other ND exams. That is also more than enough. So these formulas you can go through more than enough. Okay. Now coming to double differentiation. Double differentiation, nothing is difficult. Once you have differentiated, again differentiate. What is there? Let's say y is equal to what? Sin x. Now, if I differentiate for the first time, what I'll get? D by dx of sin x is what? Cos x. Now I want to differentiate second time also. So d by dx of this differentiation, cos x, you do it, you'll get what? Minus of sin x. That's it. So is it that difficult? Nothing. You differentiate it for the first time, you do it again. That's it, double derivative. Triple also, but okay. Now, next important for theorem, Rolle's theorem. You'll see a few questions on Rolle's theorem also. Pretty simple, okay, nothing is there. What you need to know, let's say we have a function from where to where? Let's say a to b to close interval to r. Now, first condition is if the function is continuous in close interval a to b. Function is what? Continuous in close interval a to b. Okay. And differentiable in open interval a to b. Now, why open interval? Why not close? I'll show you. Don't worry about that. Okay. So, if it is following first condition, what? Continuous in close interval a to b, differentiable in open interval a to b, and f of a is equal to f of b, then there exists minimum one value c such that f dash c is equal to 0. Now you'll say, sir, what English something you said and all that, okay, what does it actually mean? Can you show it at the graph? Let's see it. Okay, so let's say we have a function like this, correct? Let's draw it separately. Here is like a value. Now the graph either can go up or down. Let's say it is going up. Now if it has to come back to the same value, it has to go down. So it means that the moment here at b, it is the same value, let's say. So the moment here it is coming down, means here if I draw the slope, it will be what? A straight line parallel to x-axis. And we know whenever the slope is parallel to x-axis, what is the derivative there? 0. So minimum 1 point will get straight. You'll say, sir, what if, sir, I don't want to go up, sir, I'll go down, sir. Okay, I don't want to go up, so I want to go down. Okay, go down. So you have a graph, you're going down. Okay, now you want to rise up because you need to make the value same at b. So the moment you rise up, you'll get a point here where the derivative is changing sign. See, slope here it was decreasing, and here in order to get the value up, it has to increase. So somewhere the value has to be 0, then only the slope can change sign. That only they're trying to say. Okay, so it can be minimum for one value like here. Okay, it can be having more than one values. See, clear? Now we talked about what do you say, not being differentiable at open interval. Now at open interval, what happens? At close interval a and b, means at points a and b, what is happening? We have multiple tangents. So the function cannot be differentiable in close interval a to b, cannot be differentiable, okay, in this part. It can be continuous because we talked about close interval continuity, but it can't be differentiable because at this point we'll have multiple tangents, okay. That's it. So what does Rolle's theorem say? Whenever a graph is like something, like its function value f of a here, this is f of a, okay, has to be equal to some other value b, like 1 second. This graph is like this, okay. So here it started a, f of a, what you say, b, f of what you say, b, and both are same. Then at least, since the graph slope is what? Positive here, going upward, and if it has to come down to the same value, it has to change. And before changing, one point will be there where the derivative has to be 0. The slope has to be 0. Because see, when you're hitting a ball, what happens? If it has to turn back, if it has to change the direction, at one point it has to be what? 0. Then only it will be. Okay, same thing here, nothing more than that. Okay, so that is pretty simple. So you need to understand the moment they say apply Rolle's theorem, you'll understand that you have to differentiate and have to equate that equal to 0. That's it. You'll be able to solve the question. Coming to the last, Lagrange's mean value theorem. Now, mean value theorem is basically nothing but the slope. What is it? They're talking about the slope in general. So, two conditions here also. First, if it is continuous in closed interval a to b, differentiable in open interval a to b, then there exists a value c such that f dash c is equal to what? F of b minus f of a by b minus a. Now, if you'll see, sir, this is nothing but y2 minus y1 by x2 minus x1. What is that? You remember the formula for slope, correct? So let's see with the graph, what do you understand by that? Now, we have taken one point A and one point B in the graph, and we are taking some point C here we have. So we are telling that, okay, f dash c means the slope of this is nothing but if I join these two lines. Okay, if I join these two lines and find the slope, because these two lines are parallel lines, the slope of this line and slope of this line will be same. Now, how do I find the slope of this line? F of b y2 minus y1 f of a by x2 minus x1 b minus a, and that is equal to what? The slope at this point f of c, f dash c. So basically they just talked about the slope, nothing more than that. So this sums up the total, what do you say, the formula, the concept. If you have any doubt, any single doubt, and one very good news for you, for all of the students, is that we'll be coming up live, having a live class somewhere around 14th or 15th, recapping each and everything of the maths part, okay, in just 2 days. So make your short notes and keep everything ready, all the doubts and everything. So we'll clear each and everything from top to bottom. So don't worry about that. Just work hard, give your best. Okay. Now we'll start the PYQ section. Let's see how do we solve each and every questions, how we are attempting the questions and trying to solve it with different methods in just less than 30 seconds or max a minute. Okay. In few questions, max sometimes it will take a minute to solve it. Apart from that, most of the questions, 90-95% of the questions will be able to solve in just less than what, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, max 30 seconds. Okay.